We all know James Charles. That's not even a question. We all know that he's been involved in way too many scandals to still be on this platform, though somehow he still is. We all know that he, at the ripe old age of 21 years old, has now been accused of being a predator. James Charles has allegedly had sexual conversations with 8 different minors. However, only one of these victims has actually been considered confirmed, that being a TikTok user by the name of Redzai, or Isaiah. Alongside that, he was accused of preying on a Seattle waiter named Sam Cooke during Tati Westbrook's birthday dinner. Tati claimed that James had tried to trick the waiter into believing he was gay and coerced him back into his hotel room with him, though both James and Sam came forward to contradict this claim. This waiter was of legal age at the time, just to clear that up, because I know that I did just say minors. James was also accused by none other than Jeffree Star of having molested yet another minor by the name of Grayson, though as far as I know these accusations are nothing more than just accusations, and coming from Jeffree Star, who has a history of throwing around false allegations, I would take this information with a grain of salt. In a totally infamous video uploaded by Tati Westbrook, titled, rather appropriately might I add, "My Sister," James was accused of preying on a Seattle waiter and supposedly attempting to trick a straight man into believing he was gay. This man, Sam Cooke, released a video essentially clearing the air around the situation, explaining that he had been bi-curious when he had met up and made out with James, and it was all fully consensual. These allegations were only addressed by James later in May that year, when James uploaded a video titled "No More Lies." It was a video full of lies. Ironic. This video came across to us as a desperate attempt to protect himself and his brand. A large portion of this video consisted of screenshots of DMs and texts, videos of the victim and Tati, and explanations of what had been said. He explained in that video, using a clip from one of Jeffree Star's videos. Of all of the people he could have used, he chose Jeffree Star's, that he was very much attracted to straight men. James used it as an excuse and/or a way to validate his actions he was accused of. When Sam came to the conclusion that he was straight, James seemingly did not react well. I don't know the full extent of his reaction, but from the screenshot that Sam provided, James seemed to be questioning whether Sam was really straight, or whether he was even correct about his own identity. Interesting. At the end of February 2020, a 16-year-old TikToker by the username of Redzai posted a now-deleted video accusing James Charles of grooming him via Snapchat DMs. The platform most likely utilized for its feature which, deletes the messages after being seen, though I probably shouldn't have to explain that. The Redzai allegations were addressed at first through a tweet in which James denied having requested sexually explicit photos from the minor, and explained that he just received them one morning when he checked his phone. James's tweet had a very victim-blaming air to it, and he seemed to be pinning the issue on Redzai for sending explicit photos first, which was not confirmed by Redzai, by the way. He'd also accused Redzai of saying, after admitting that he was 16, "It'll be our little secret." James covered this situation again in a video released recently, titled "Holding Myself Accountable," which also covers interaction with another minor, though I couldn't find much information about this without a name or face. He explains in this video that he had been reckless, and that he was in an odd romantic situation and had acted out of desperation. He also explains that Redzai's age was in his TikTok bio at the time, meaning James could have checked this when Redzai had allegedly said that he was 18, but he didn't. James stressed in the beginning of the video that he wouldn't be making excuses to justify his actions, that there were no excuses. However, he uses his so-called desperation as a way to nullify what he did. James emphasized that he was trying to change, though he also claimed that when the last drama came into public view. He claimed that in his desperation for a relationship, James ignored red flags and stopped listening to his family's advice. He also enunciates that he believes the power imbalance, a celebrity talking to his fans, caused Redzai to send him those lewd photos, rather than James actually requesting them. However, in Redzai's recount of the exchange, he'd said that James had been sexualizing their conversations and sending him explicit photos while asking for the same. This argument was accompanied with sexually explicit photos supposedly sent by James and images of James asking for them. Redzai does not confirm that he lied about his age, saying that he'd messaged James first, seeking a fan to influence a conversation, seemingly not giving his age at all, and that he'd told James he was 16 when he'd become uncomfortable with the sexual advances being made. He explains that James actively pursued sexual interaction, asking for lewds, after Redzai told James his age. So personally, I think that James has essentially been deemed uncancelable, and while I sincerely hope cancel culture dies in the hole that we dragged it from, it's a harmful mindset to have. James has been involved in way too many scandals over his career, and although he is, for the majority of these, 18, I believe he needs to hold himself accountable for his part in all of the drama he's been involved in, not just these accusations of texting minors. His career began its downhill descent years ago, and at this point he's just being crushed by the snowball effect while digging himself into a deep, deep pit. To be completely honest, I don't think James addressed the Sam Cooke situation the way his critics really needed him to in order to reach a resolve, because all he really did was go over Tati's video and explain/disprove her arguments against him. When he addressed the Redzai allegations, James did in fact take accountability, but again, not the way his fans and critics wanted or needed him to. He was pinning it on Redzai, saying that Redzai had sent him these images first, but there is evidence of him asking for sexually explicit images. So even if Redzai had sent those images first, he should still have taken up the mindset to deny this. Because, first off, you shouldn't be interacting with your fans in a sexual manner. Do not take advantage of our fans like that. Your romantic life and your career should be completely separate. And second off, it's widely believed by myself and the majority of other people that James did in fact sexualize the conversation, not the minor in question. Neither of his apologies seem to hit the mark, and James is seemingly being brought to justice. I'm genuinely curious to see how this situation is going to play out, if it does play out at all, or if James is going to manage to sweep it under the rug, just like last time.